is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here to another episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. And today we're going to be talking about some NBA power rankings. The NBA and Bleacher Report dropped NBA power rankings if the season started today. This came out just 2 days ago, and I basically didn't have anything to talk about with you guys. We could bring up the Jonathan Kuminga thing, but nobody really knows what's going on over there. We haven't really officially started the Eurobasket yet. We're still, we're getting some college scrimmages right now, or at least some practice film coming out. And then I'm just basically watching a ton of the 2026 draft. But yeah, the main NBA stuff going on is when is a KD extension happening? We had the Fox extension last week. What's going on with Kuminga? I don't think that's going to materialize anytime soon. Where's Josh Giddey? What that dollar amount's going to end up? Why isn't Quentin Grimes signed back with Philly? Cam Thomas, I have no idea. He honestly might play next year on the qualifying offer at this rate. Maybe we see a trade. I'm sure we'll see a trade or two happen at one point before the season starts, but we're in kind of that quiet part of the offseason where something may come out of nowhere. We could see a trade happen. Who knows, right? It could be a Karl-Anthony Towns type trade, a massive one late in the offseason as we get closer to training camp. Maybe there's going to be an injury that comes up last year with the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson was basically going to be out for the first half of the year, which made the Knicks go out and acquire Karl-Anthony Towns for Randall DiVincenzo. So yeah, we could see something like that happen. But right now we're still in that weird limbo part of the offseason. I'm still going to try to maintain 3 podcasts for you guys over the next few weeks. I'm not exactly sure. This week, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday quiz. Next week, though, I'm going to be away. I'm actually going to be in Spain for the week. So I don't know. I'm going to try my best to get you guys out 3 episodes. Definitely a quiz on Friday. Definitely at least 1 talk next week, but I'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. Let's hop into this Bleacher Report article reaction. And yeah, this is them basically going from 30 to 1 with their power rankings. I have made my fair share of power rankings this offseason. I made a whole Sross video about it. Going forward, I think I may do a podcast episode with it as well, but I like to see or just look at some other point of views as well. So if you have any articles, or maybe if there's an article you wrote and you want me to react to it, I could definitely be interested about that. The Bleacher Report also did a best big threes article, which I kind of am intrigued about that, but I don't think it goes through all 30. So I had my 30th team going into the season as the Brooklyn Nets, and they agree as well. They added a bunch of raw talent throughout the NBA draft. Yegor, Saraf, Traore, Danny Wolf, Drake Powell. It's going to be some ups and downs for the Nets next year. They brought back some of their guys. I don't think they finalized the Zaire Williams, Day'Ron Sharpe contracts yet because we still don't know what's going on with Cam Thomas. They could get involved in a George Niang level trade where they take on a $7 or $8 million contract. They can get some second round draft capital. But we kind of know this is their roster depending on what's going on with Cam Thomas. But you're going to have a solid center in Nick Claxton. You have a great 3-point shooter, Michael Porter Jr. They've added Terrence Mann this offseason. This is going to be a bad team. They do have their records last year, which is nice. They went 26-56. I don't know off the top of my head what their over-under is. I assume it's around 20.5 wins. But yeah, that team is going to be bad. But you know what? They have a coach they believe in, Jordi Fernandez. They're going to have cap space going forward in every single offseason until they take on a big contract or give somebody a big contract. I'm intrigued about Yegor this year. I really do like Yegor a little bit more after Summer League. And I think it's going to take some time, but he's the only guy I have confidence in this Nets team going forward. Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas, I don't know if it's going to be fun to watch. I would hope somebody like Noah Clowney or whatever's left of Derek Whitehead on that rookie deal, we can get something. But this Nets team is going to be a tough watch, I think, at times next year. But you're really just caring about the offensive development of the young guys going forward. So at 29, we have the Utah Jazz. It's kind of funny because you obviously, when you're in a position of Austin Ainge, who came from the Boston Celtics, became a top executive now from the Jazz. He's we're not going to be the same old Jazz. We're going to be more aggressive this offseason. What was your aggressiveness? You took Ace Bailey at 5. You traded away John Collins for Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson. They're going to probably buy out Kevin Love. You traded away Colin Sexton and a second rounder for Yusuf Nurkic, and this is a team that doesn't have a ton of seconds either. And then they also bought out Jordan Clarkson. So you were kind of aggressive in going backwards, which I don't mind. I honestly think that's where they should be going. It's just funny that you kind of have to politic in a way, be like, no, this is different. And no, you're probably going to be maybe worse than you were a year ago. So this team went 17-65 last year, the worst record in the NBA. Now, Markkanen missed time last year. John Collins missed some time. But like Collins, Sexton, and Clarkson made up majority of your points outside of Markkanen, like a decent amount. Yeah, you're gonna get something Keontae George and Sensible and Collier, but those guys gave you the foundation. But I do think it'll be addition by subtraction. I'm really excited to watch Price Sensible in year 3. I'm hoping Taylor Hendricks at least looks like somewhat of himself, more so in the second half. I don't think that's going to come right away. I think Walker Kessler is probably one of the more underrated and underappreciated rim protectors in this league. And I think the moment Lauri Markkanen showcases that he's 2023 or 4 Markkanen, you got to trade him. You do. It's going to be such a weird dynamic. And Will Hardy has a lot like to work on with this roster. What is going to be the best and most efficient lineup next year with and without Markkanen? Is it going to involve Walter Clayton? Is it going to involve Filipowski or Sensabaugh or Collier or Keontae George or Ace Bailey? There's just so many names in Utah, and I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I'm so excited about Ace Bailey there next year. Like, I'm more excited about Ace Bailey than anybody on the Brooklyn Nets. They're just going to be bad. They're just going to be bad, and that's going to be okay. And we'll see if this team does add a top talent in the 2026 draft, and they can kind of go full throttle in 2027. Washington at 28. They're also, I think, going to be pretty bad. I want the Wizards to begin as a Knicks fan. I want to get their first round pick outside the top 8. I thought the Wizards had a very weird offseason, not in a good way or a bad way. So this center rotation is not great. I like Tristan Vukcevic. I really like Alex Sarr, but these are still raw players right now. Vukcevic played well in his like scrimmage Eurobasket game the other day. But you brought back Marvin Bagley. You didn't really address that. Did you really need a Cam Whitmore? Do you really need to make the Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley trade? I know they waived Branham. I'm thrilled about Trey Johnson. The way the draft fell, like I would have liked Ace Bailey more. I would have liked Conkinable. Who cares? Trey Johnson is the guy that fell to you, and he could be maybe the most intriguing young player going forward. Maybe they kind of trot out Bilal Coulibaly as the power forward next year. I mean, I don't hate that idea. Like, I think the same question for the Jazz. Who are your top guys that you're thinking about going forward? If Bilal Coulibaly does not take an offensive leap, does he go down the pecking order? And now you care more about Keyshawn and Trey and Sarr and Bub. I said Bub, right? Either way. I think next year I'm intrigued about like a Bilal and Sarr front court. I think there could be something there. And then you have, I don't know, like who's initiating this offense. And then you have like the CJ McCollum piece and the Chris Middleton piece. And those guys are just getting paid a ton and are veterans. And I think McCollum probably is going to get more shots than Middleton. They moved on from Marcus Smart. There's just a lot of moving parts in Washington right now, but the future does feel bright in DC. They have an open cap sheet going forward after this year, after the Jordan Poole trade. Will Riley showed some offensive flashes, obviously at Illinois and in the summer league. I think they're going to be bad at times. I wonder who's going to be like the initiator. Is it going to be Bub Carrington taking a leap as like a lead ball handler? What are you going to get out of AJ Johnson, another raw player going into year number 2? And they traded for Dylan Jones this offseason. There's just a lot of names, a lot of moving parts, and it may take us to like January to February to figure out like who these core pieces are going forward. But I do agree they're probably going to be bad as well. Charlotte Hornets at 27. Interesting. Did I have Charlotte this low? I may have. After my initial, I'm trying to think. Did I have anybody worse than Charlotte? Probably not, right? Because like Phoenix is still I don't know. Charlotte has a weird, I think, like range this year. They could definitely be a playing tournament team, but you're asking LaMelo Ball to play 60-plus games, something we haven't seen him really be healthy since 2022. Brandon Miller, I'm expecting a big year 3 for Brandon Miller. I like Conkinable as a immediate impact player right away. I just think this is going to be one of the worst defenses and more so in the paint. Like one of the worst rim protections we're going to see in a little bit. I think you're asking a lot out of Kalkbrenner to anchor this defense right away. Mason Plumlee is your main rim or your starting center in 2026 is not where you want to go. And I like Moussa Diabate more than the rest of them or more than anybody else, but he's very chaotic out there at times. And he's a great rebounder. We all know that. He's physical. He's going to go after anything. But it's going to come with him being too overzealous, him not being, I think, as physical downside, and he can get outworked by way more skillful bigs. So Charlotte, I think, could put up a lot of points with or without LaMelo, with or without Brandon Miller. 27, I get the range. We'll see if there's maybe a team coming to me that I think could be worse. So New Orleans at 26, another team that also has a crazy range. They probably have a higher ceiling than Charlotte, although Charlotte is in the weaker conference. New Orleans has, God damn it, a talented roster for the 26th ranked team in the league. It's just same with LaMelo Ball. It's just like Zion's health. That's the thing that's going to dictate their season. If Zion Williamson can play 60-plus games, this team could be north of 500 or around 500. If Zion Williamson misses 50-plus games, this team is also going to be fighting for a top 10 pick in the draft, something they traded away. Because you trade for Jordan Poole, who, you know what, is going to be a good starting point guard for you because DeJounte is going to be out for the first few months. Jeremiah Fears is a raw point guard prospect, and Jose Alvarado has a limitation on him offensively, and is a good backup. Herb Jones is going to be healthy. Trey Murphy took steps last year. You drafted Derek Queen, who is going to have his moments, but is also not going to have his moments in his rookie year. Yves Missi, great athlete at the 5 spot. It'll be a big year 2 for him. Jordan Hawkins needs to like show something in the first few months, or he may not be in their future plans as well. So it's a deep team. There's a lot of talent on this team, but they definitely have a lower floor than I think like some of the other teams around them. Like New Orleans versus Phoenix is an interesting one because I think Phoenix might have like gone better this offseason, and they were like the 11th or 12th team last year, so that's probably where they're going to finish up. So they have Toronto, wow, at 25, pretty low. Toronto is behind. Chicago? That's the one team I should have mentioned before. I would have had Chicago at 27. I think Charlotte's going to be better than Chicago next year. I think New Orleans and Toronto will be better than Chicago. So that's interesting. So they mentioned barring a trade of some member of a core that played no real time together last season, there wasn't much for the Toronto Raptors to do this summer, so they re-signed Jakob Poeltl and locked in that core in place. This is a very expensive team, but they are essentially adding Brandon Ingram. They won 30 games last year, and everybody was hurt at one point. Quickly was hurt. Barrett was hurt. Scotty was banged up at 2 different times last year. Jakob Poeltl was one of the more surprising like offensive big men in a good way in the first half of the year. Colin Murray Boyles can make an impact right away. Mogbo, Shed, Walter all showed flashes in the first and second half. It's going to be a big year 3 for Grady Dick. I do feel like this team would flow a little bit better if like RJ Barrett wasn't on the team. And this is no slight to RJ. It's just I think Grady Dick slides in and fills the off-ball movement a little bit better when now you have Ingram and Barnes out there. I like Scotty maybe being like the point guard and Quickly playing off-ball as well. And Quickly's a good player. The contract doesn't look great right now because he was hurt last year. So we'll see. 25 feels a little bit low for Toronto, though. Phoenix at 24. Yeah, like I would have Chicago behind Phoenix. I think Phoenix is a lot better than the Bulls. Like, what do the Bulls have going for them? I assume Vucevic is not going to be on the team after the deadline. Who is going to score for this team? Like, you're asking a lot out of Matsas Buzelis. I guess, like, Kobe White, right? But, like, could they trade out Sunu? I don't know. I do think Chicago is a bottom 5 team, and they don't have them as that. Phoenix, 36 and 46 last year. Like I said, you can make an argument got better. They had maybe the worst center rotation last year. It was like them, New Orleans, Charlotte at sometimes. And Phoenix adds, come on my watch, raw player. Don't think he's going to have an amazing impact in year number 1. It's going to take some time to feel for the game at the NBA level. Mark Williams, great athlete, but he needs to stay healthy. And then you have Nick Richards. But at least you have 3 names out there that you can kind of rotate over time. You get Dylan Brooks, a good perimeter player. You have Devin Booker, who you just re-signed. You also picked up Jalen Green this offseason. High ceiling, low floor, but plays all 82 games. And that's what Phoenix also needs for them going forward. You buy out Bradley Beal. I think they got slightly better. I still don't think they're a good team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're an intriguing watch next year. But if Devin Booker goes down with an injury, yeah, they're going to be picking, well, they don't own their pick, but their pick will be in the top 10. Did I miss Chicago? Did I miss Chicago? Philadelphia is coming in at number 23. What? How do you have Philadelphia lower than Chicago? Interesting. Recent reporting suggests Joel Embiid's knee may not be ready for the start of training camp, and Paul George has already kind of had an injury to start off the year. Edgecombe may come with his ups and downs in his rookie year. Jared McCain's coming off a major injury. Maxi's shown that the efficiency could take a hit without Embiid's gravity on the floor. I think Philly's better. I assume they're bringing back Quentin Grimes. I don't know if that's like, I don't know. Like, Paul George can't be much worse. Embiid, man, I hope he's healthy, but you never know with Embiid at this point. They lose Gershon. I mean, if Embiid is going to miss 40-plus games, yeah, I don't think this team is going to make the playoffs. But I just think they have a higher, I don't know. I think they're better than Chicago. I think if you're ranking out the players, like Maxi's better than Kobe White and Giddey, and Quentin Grimes is probably, you can make an argument Giddey's more impactful than Grimes. I mean, they're both restricted free agents right now. You guys can let me know. You can let me know if I'm overrating or if I'm underrating the Chicago Bulls next year. They don't come in at 22. Did Chicago trade for Jokic and I don't know this? I'm like going back and forth in this article to make sure I didn't miss the Chicago Bulls. We really think Chicago is going to be better than Portland? Interesting. Now, Portland this offseason edged Drew Holiday. They trade away Anthony Simons, which I think helps them out in the department they need a little bit more. Now, their offense could be weird at times. Like, you're asking Denny of Dion to average maybe 20 points per game for this team. Dame is not playing until next year. Young Hansen is an extremely raw rookie coming in. Donovan Clingan hasn't had the most reliability with his health, even at UConn or last year. But hey, I think showed promise last year as a good rim protector for this team. Tumani Kamara, everybody loves. It's a big year for Scoot and Sharp. Can one of those guys average 20 points per game next season? Or close to it? I agree, there could be some volatility with their scoring. But man, you really have Portland lower than Chicago. You have Chicago as a top 20 team? I know they were in the play-in tournament last year, but still. Oh, man. So they have Sacramento at 21. Sacramento is another team kind of like New Orleans. Like, they have a low floor, probably a low ceiling in a way. Like, I think Sacramento's peak is the 6th seed. Like, that's their absolute peak if everybody stays healthy. And Schroeder has, 82 game averages what he did in Brooklyn last year before the Warriors trade. And Keegan Murray has a breakout year. And he's Isaac Jones and Nick Clifford, Maxime Reynau, and Devin Carter all give you good contributions. And Zach LaVine has a career year. DeRozan's 35, 36 years old. Sabonis is still an all-star caliber big man. I mean, the Kings have a talented roster. They do. Somebody's going to take a hit in the West. Nobody thought Memphis was going to be as bad 2 years ago. Nobody thought New Orleans was going to be as bad last year. I wonder who's going to get outplayed. Is there a chance New Orleans or Sacramento or Portland, one of those teams, a playoff team? I guess everybody would go to Portland. I think Sacramento does have, I don't know, maybe they have a higher floor, but a lower ceiling than New Orleans and Portland going forward. So Chicago comes in at number 20. I got to read this. There's a hint of uncertainty around the Bulls thanks to the fact that Josh Giddey remains unsigned, but without any real cap space, the restricted free agent is likely to return. I agree. And when he was on the floor with Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, Matas Buzelis, and Vucevic, the starting five over the closing kick of the season had a comfortable positive point differential. I mean, it was March basketball, man. March basketball is just when AJ Lawson can score 30 points. It's just a weird time. And I'm as high as anybody on Matas Buzelis in year number 2. I like Josh Giddey's run and gun style with Chicago in the second half. That's why I wish they drafted Derek Queen over Essengay, who I think is another raw prospect coming in. Could there be a chance Vucevic gets bought out or he's moved? Kevin Huerter was a good 3-point shooter. Trey Jones was a good backup point guard for you in the second half. You guys can let me know if I'm being too high on Chicago, but based right now, I like Sacramento. I like Portland. I like Philly. I think Phoenix. I like Toronto. I like New Orleans. I maybe like Charlotte. I do think Chicago is a bottom 3 team in the league. I think only Utah and Brooklyn and Washington are worse. So they're the 4th worst team in the league, in my opinion. They have them at number 20. So number 19, we have the Indiana Pacers, an incredibly tough team to predict next year because of Halliburton, who's already been ruled out next year. Maybe there's a 10% chance Tatum plays for the Celtics. We'll get to them in a little bit. But them coming in at 19, we got to see something. I thought it was a really interesting podcast between Keelan Cooper, who does great work with the Pacers, and Rick Carlisle. She had him on the pod, and man, it's really high level stuff, and it's definitely a great watch. I recommend it a ton. And there's been kind of some things out that came out of that Carlisle likes the make a split decision and go. That's why Halliburton is so effective in this Pacers offense, is he's not going to hold on the ball too long. He's either going to make a dribble, a shot, or a pass in less than a second. It was 7 seconds or 7/10 of a second. And that's a big loss for them. And somebody like Benedict Mathurin likes to hold on to the ball a ton. So this might be a completely change of an identity for a Pacers offense, where Mathurin could have the second highest usage rate on the team with Miles Turner gone. And you have Jay Huff and Ijax and Wiseman in the mix. You're going to need Nembhard or Mathurin, I think, to be a good enough number 2 next to Siakam if you want to be in the playoffs. They have the talent to be a playoff team in a wide open East. What happens if Giannis gets hurt? Philly's got the injuries. I mean, the Pacers could be better than Chicago, Boston, Toronto, Miami for sure, even without Halliburton and Turner. But we got to see this identity kind of shift a little bit in a 1-year gap year while Halliburton recovers from this Achilles tear. 18, we have the Boston Celtics. Okay, so back to back here. Boston is another fascinating team in 2026. They won 60 games last year, 61-21, but Tatum, I don't think has been officially ruled out next year, but I just really don't see them rushing him back in late March. I just think that's incredibly risky. Maybe we do see him if he's really fine to go by February and they want to just be very cautious with him and conservative, but I just don't think it's worth it. and then you can kind of like reshuffle. Like, this is a terrible front court. Like, it's Luka Garza, it's Nemeas Queta, it's Amari Williams. They just traded George Niang. They signed Chris Boucher. It's not great whatsoever. Jaylen Brown is going to be the number one for the first time in his career, something we've wanted to see for a while now. We thought we were going to see it on a different team at one point, maybe in a Kevin Durant trade, maybe if Utah traded it for him this offseason. But no, we're going to see him as the number one with Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons for now as like the co-stars. I just don't see this team having the rim protection. I think they're going to be fine perimeter, like defending on the perimeter. Are they going to get, I don't know, Derek White asking him to be a number two is going to be tough. Like, this has not been a role for him ever in his career. Can Peyton Pritchard be a number two? Where these guys are threes, fours, fives with Tatum and Drew and Kristaps in the mix, where they're able to get such good looks. That's not going to come next year. So we're going to have to see Derek White be more aggressive as an isolation scorer on the perimeter, as a downhill attacker. I trust Peyton Pritchard maybe more than Derek White to take a leap. Anthony Simons kind of has the experience as like the main guy in Portland, which is going to be, I think, nice for Boston next year, but he's an expiring contract that may not even be on the roster at the end of the year. Miami coming in at number 17. Miami, I also think, has like maybe a higher floor, lower ceiling than some of these teams. I can't really see Miami being a top 4 seed next year, but they could definitely finish in like that 5 to 9 range. That's probably a good bet. Like, that's a decent range for them. Hero was an all-star. Bam struggled offensively in the first half, but was really good in the second half. They basically got Norman Powell for free this offseason. Andrew Wiggins now has a full offseason under Spo to work with him. Khalil Ware in year number 2. Hawkes can't be much worse. Jovic could be better. They add Yakuchonis. I mean, Miami, I think, is going to be respectable next year. They don't have the Jimmy Butler distraction, which I think is going to be great for them. Pele Larson showed some flashes in the month of March, which can be a little iffy, but I did like what I saw from him defensively. And you got to just trust Spoelstra, right? Can Bam or Hero elevate themselves? I mean, Bam's getting paid a lot of money now. Let's see if Bam could be like the main guy in Miami. Could Bam average 20 and 10 next year, top 5 defense, and the 3-point shot? Is he going to abandon it completely? Could he just be like Giannis and take mid-rangers? We'll see. So speaking of Giannis, coming in at number 16, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, who do not have a flashy team after losing Damian Lillard, but they do add Miles Turner. Giannis is maybe one of the more underappreciated stars in the league right now. He's finished top 4 in MVP voting every single year this decade, and he's just 30 and 10 every single year, 5-6 assists. We'll see the workload and the usage he's going to have with no Damian Lillard. Is somebody like Kyle Kuzma or Kevin Porter Jr. going to step up for this team? I like the shooting that they can kind of connect around Giannis. Like, what if you just run Giannis at the point? You have Miles Turner who could space the floor, and then you have guys like Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Ryan Rollins, and Taurean Prince around you. Guys that could shoot, defend, and just run in transition, which could be good for this team. Because Kyle Kuzma is too inconsistent of a shooter at times. Kevin Porter Jr. can be inconsistent as well. We'll see if any young player, I can't really put any stock into like Tyler Smith or Andre Jackson or Chris Livingston taking a leap, because Milwaukee's development system over the last few years have been like so stagnant when any guy gets any momentum, and Doc Rivers and some guys just haven't really had faith in the young core. So we'll see for Milwaukee, but they add Cole Anthony this offseason. I just wonder if Giannis is going to be like the main ball handler on the perimeter, or are they going to be okay with Kevin Porter Jr. and Cole Anthony trying to replace Damian Lillard in the aggregate in a way, although it's going to be impossible for you to replace Damian Lillard. 15, Dallas, another team that is kind of hard to predict right now because, oh man, Cooper Flagg is going to have some crazy expectations as an 18-year-old to start off next year's season. I've seen some lists where he's already like a top 5 small forward. I don't know where I'm going to predict him to be next year. I assume he's going to be the starting small forward with AD at the 4, and then you have like the Lively Gafford connection at the 5. Kyrie should be back in January, February, and it's been a little bit easier. And like we've seen with modern medicine and recovery, that ACL tears aren't what they used to be. Achilles tears are still like the big one. But ACL tears, we've seen guys come back and be just fine. And we'll see how Kyrie's going to be as like a 33-year-old small guard. But they add D'Lo to bridge the gap until he comes back. You have PJ Washington you kept this offseason. You add Cooper Flagg, who could be such a difference maker. And Anthony Davis, when healthy, is still like a borderline top 10 player in the league. And he looks so good against Houston in his Mavericks debut. But can we count on AD to stay healthy? They have a very wide range next year. They can finish 13th in the West. They could finish 3rd in the West, I think, going forward. Next up for 14, Memphis this high. Which, okay, you know what? I kind of appreciate. I do think Memphis is a little bit underlooked right now and maybe one of the more underrated teams going into 2026. You tell me Memphis goes 48 and 34 again. I don't think I'm totally shocked. I would be impressed, but I don't think I'm totally shocked. So you trade away Desmond Bane, which is going to be a massive blow for like a secondary shot creator next to Ja, an elite 3-point shooter, and someone that just knows the system and the role that he's been in Memphis for the last few years. But you keep, like, as long as Triple J's healthy, he's still a unique player with his defensive ability and 3-point shooting. Ja Morant was one of the best scorers post All-Star break and after they fired Taylor Jenkins. KCP can't be much worse. Cedric Howard's an interesting rookie, but Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams, there's something in that core of those young guys. Like Gigi and Vince can't be much worse if they're healthy going into next year. I know Edey's already banked up. You have Brandon Clark. You bring in Ty Jerome. You have Scottie Pippen Jr. Like, this is a deep Memphis Grizzlies team. I love Jemai Mashak in the second round. You draft Javon Small, and this team has drafted very well in the second round over the last few years. I just feel like what Ja was after, like, how, I don't know, they just kind of hit him in the corner at times in the first half of the year. They try to reinvent the wheel, and I just think they're going to be maybe even better without Desmond Bane defensively at times. So we'll see what Ja, Triple J, and whoever they throw out there. I forgot to mention Santi Aldama, who they brought back, but I think Wells fits this team very well. No pun intended. Gigi Jackson, I don't think can't be, or he'll be better next year. He might be a teenager. He's 20 years old. And then you have KCP, who is just a solid enough veteran that might be better in Memphis than what he was in Orlando last season. So we have Atlanta at 13. I wonder if people did not like that, because Atlanta is obviously a very sexy pick to take a leap next year, maybe make it to a conference finals. Trae Young could get MVP votes. I mean, this is the best team they put around Trae Young. Now, right now, at the moment I'm recording this, they have not agreed on an extension. He's extension eligible. He could be a free agent next year. Now, if Trae Young, I believe, waits till next year, he can get a supermax and get a no trade clause as well, because he's waiting till he is a free agent to sign the supermax. Which was Jokic a free agent when he signed the supermax? I know Bradley Beal was, but I think Booker and Jokic were before they were actually unrestricted free agents, and that's how Beal was able to get the no trade clause. But Atlanta was active as maybe anybody in the East this offseason, one of the more active teams. You had Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kristaps Porzingis. You have a young trio of great defenders and some high-ceiling offensive players of Jalen Johnson, who's going to be healthy again, Dyson Daniels, and Zachary Risache, who I think could be a great player one day. I don't want to put too much pressure on him in year number 2. Is still somewhat of a raw prospect coming out of Jailberg, and productive rookie year. Has looked solid for France in Eurobasket, like clips here and there, right? Like in their exhibition games. It's just how far can Trae Young be the offensive engine for this team, who's done it in the past, and he's the best passer in terms of assists, leading the NBA in assists last year. Can Kristaps stay healthy? Can Asa Newell be a productive player? Can Okongwu anchor a team's defense if KP is out? I love adding Naw as well. They have so many good defenders that are switchable around Trae Young. So 13 feels low. I mean, going through my head, they do have Detroit ahead of Atlanta. I think I would give the slight edge to Atlanta, though. 12, wow, I'm really good at predicting who's next. We have Detroit here, who didn't really get that much better this offseason in terms of external additions. It's not their fault what's going on with Malik Beasley. They go from, I guess, Malik Beasley to Karis LeVert. You go from like Dennis Schroeder to Duncan, or you go from like Tim Hardaway Jr. to Duncan Robinson. You lose Dennis Schroeder. But Cade Cunningham going into year number 5. Wow, I feel old. Yeah, going into year number 5, first year of the extension. Jaden Ivey was playing the best basketball of his career last year, going into year number 4. Hopefully he's looking healthy, fresh, ready to go. Asar Thompson does not have a health scare to start off the year. I'm so excited about Asar next year. I'm excited about Ron Holland, who had a very productive summer league. Jalen Duren was great for them in the playoffs. This is a fun Pistons team. They still have veterans on the roster, right? Adding Robinson, LeVert, Tobias Harris is still there. They bring back B-Ball Paul. I think Detroit can still win 45 plus games next year after winning 44 last year. JB Bickerstaff feels like he's the right guy going forward. And is there another leap for Cade Cunningham? Where last year, top 15 player in the league, could we see Cade as a top 8 player next year? Like an Anthony Edwards level leap, and the Pistons are in the conference finals. And Cade is now the Anthony Edwards of the Eastern Conference. Not out of the equation whatsoever. 11, we have the San Antonio Spurs, a team that is going to go as far as Wemby's health can take them, I think. Wemby season was cut short last year, was going to win Depoy in year number 2. He's like well on the odds-on favorite to win Depoy in year number 3. They get a full year now of him and De'Aaron Fox. They don't trade for KD, but they draft Dylan Harper. Stephon Castle year 2. I did think the young core outside of Castle was disappointing last year, with Vassell, Johnson, and Shoen not taking the leaps, but they add big man depth, which is great. Luke Cornett, You lose Sandro to the Raptors, but you add Luke Cornett, you add Kelly Olynyk, like you got bodies out there in the front court. And this is a team that, like I said, like can go as far as Wemby can take them. I think him and Fox are going to be a lot of fun to watch as an offensive and defensive duo. And Wemby can be an MVP candidate next year if the Spurs do take a leap up a tier. It's going to be tough. Like they haven't made the play-in tournament with Wemby in his first 2 years. So I think it's a lot to say that the Spurs are going to be 100% a top 6 seed. That could definitely happen. If they added Kevin Durant, then I would have said yes, for sure. They could have been. Number 10, we have Golden State. I don't know. I think I like some other teams more than Golden State right now. So we don't know what's going on with Kuminga. Either way, they're going to get DeAnthony Melton, most likely Gary Payton and Al Horford in free agency. Are they going to end up with Kuminga, or is it going to be a Malik Monk or somebody in a sign and trade in that sense? Could we see a leap from like a Pods or a Moody who had their moments in the playoffs, but nothing like too consistent? And Jimmy and Steph, like the Warriors were one of the best teams in the second half last year. Curry literally turned the clocks back at some time or at some point, and maybe he doesn't tear his hamstring and they're in the conference finals against the Thunder. But I do want to respect Steph. He's going to be old. What is he going to be? 37, 38 next year. Jimmy Butler. I don't think we're going to see like 2023 Butler come out ever again. That could happen for sure. But he didn't look as aggressive when Steph was out. Like if we still had 2023 Jimmy, I think they do beat Minnesota and are in the conference finals. They have a stretch five in Quentin Post. They drafted Alex Tui and Will Richard. I don't know if they got better this offseason because I don't think they have young enough players that are going to just progress. Like, yeah, Pods and Moody could progress, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than marginal for them. So I think they're too high at 10. Orlando at number 9. I do like Orlando more than Atlanta and Detroit next year. I think what they needed to add was an elite three-point shooter this offseason. They do that in Desmond Bane. They needed some ball handlers at the point. They had Jace Richardson and Tyus Jones. They bring back like Mo Wagner. They brought back, who's the other guy they brought back? No, they lose Gary Harris to Milwaukee, right? They lose who am I thinking of off the top of my head? Well, Cole Anthony was traded, KCP was traded, and then Caleb Houston goes to the Atlanta Hawks, a division rival. But yeah, you have 3 solid centers. Wendell Carter Jr. was the worst of the 3 last year. Mo Wagner was the best, and then he tore his ACL. Franz needs to shoot better, right? Like that's I think as far as they can go. Is Franz is going to probably still get 15 shots a night. Can he shoot more than 30% from 3? I think Powell can be one of the 10 best players in the league next year. I love Desmond Bane in this role. His numbers could go down, but he was a number 3 in in Memphis. He's going to be a number 3 in Orlando, and then Suggs is going to be healthy again. They're such a good defensive team, and they haven't been top 20 in offensive rating season since 2012. I think this will finally be the year for sure. I love them getting Jason Penda in the draft. Minnesota at number 8. We have really the Lakers ahead of Minnesota? What? I know they lost Naw this offseason, but I believe in Jalen Clark and Terrence Shannon to replace Naw in the aggregate. I think Anthony Edwards could be better than LeBron James next year. I think he could be better than Luka Doncic in a way. I don't think that's a guarantee, but I think there's a chance. I mean, the Lakers added DeAndre Ayton this offseason as a center. I don't know. We saw Minnesota just body them last year in the playoffs on the glass. So I think, yeah, losing Naw is going to hurt, but you bring back Randall. I think DiVincenzo, if he could stay healthy, another year in Minnesota can be better after a slower start he had last year. Rob Dillingham hopefully can give you something because this team does have a point guard question if Rob Dillingham does not progress and Mike Conley continues to regress. But Randall showcased he's not a playoff flopper and played well in the playoffs. And you have Jaden McDaniels, an amazing perimeter player in this league. I think Minnesota's a little low at 8, and you brought back Naz Reid. We have my Knicks here at number 7. I think this has them as the second best team in the East. I think the Knicks are better than the Lakers in a way. I know it's tough to compare teams not in the same conference, but the Knicks were in the conference finals, so were Minnesota. So I think they're a little bit lower on those two teams. The Knicks didn't lose a single player this offseason of note. I know Shamit's unsigned, but you bring in Jordan Clarkson to replace Shamit. You bring in Gershon Yabusele. You have Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, and Cat all coming back. Mitchell Robinson's going to be healthy on opening night. Year 2, Pacomi Daddier or Ariel Hook Porty. You bring in Mike Brown. I will say the Knicks, I think, as much as Tibbs played them last year, they had some really good injury luck. Everybody was healthy in the playoffs. They were maybe gassed at times, but Brunson had a career year. Same with OG, same with Cat, same with Josh Hart. We'll see how they look this year with them probably playing less minutes per night and Mike Brown going deeper into the rotation. And hopefully the marginal moves can catapult them to the NBA Finals, because I don't think anybody would be totally shocked if they're in the conference finals, but can the Knicks actually beat the team they're playing? I thought they could have beaten the Pacers. I thought that very confidently in the first 3 quarters of game 1, and then Aaron Nesmith happened. So we had the Lakers at number 6. I don't know, man. LeBron's going to be 41 in December. Luka is still Luka Doncic. He's still one of the 5 best players in the NBA, in my opinion. And it's going to be tough for him to look like that when he's coming to LA. Now he's got a full offseason. He's playing for Slovenia in the Eurobasket. We'll see how much he's going to be in shape on opening night. You add Marcus Smart, who hasn't played a lot over the last few years and has definitely regressed. I think losing Jordan Goodwin to the Suns may hurt a little bit. I love the addition of Jake Oravia. I don't love DeAndre Ayton as like a 30-minute a night center, but for $8 million a year, what you got him for, I think he can outperform that production. We'll see if they get anything out of Connect in year 2. I'm not going to say too much for Bronny. I do Thero as a rookie. And then you also have like maybe Cole Swider. I don't know if they actually gave him a guaranteed contract, but I liked what I saw from him in Summer League. I don't know, man. I think they need another big. Austin Reeves was fantastic in the second half. Can Rui be like your main point of attack defender? I just wonder what's also going to be like the optimal lineup for the Lakers next year. You have to play Luka, LeBron, and Reeves at the same time. And then who are the next two? You got to probably play DeAndre Ayton, but then you don't really trust anybody's defense out there. So then it's probably going to be the best defender out of like Hashimura, Smart, or Vandy next season. So here at number 5, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I feel like should be ranked ahead of the Clippers. I mean, they won 64 games last year, and I know they lost in disappointing fashion to the Pacers, but this is a Pacers team that beat the Knicks, who beat the Celtics. It's a Pacers team that took the Thunder to 7 games, something the Timberwolves couldn't do, or something the Nuggets could do. And the Cavs, like, Garland and Mobley missed time, Hunter missed time, or they were banged up. They choked game 2. It was so bad. So there was a chance, they won game 3, right? So there's a chance they could have been up 2-1 in a way. Yeah, I do think it was a very disappointing exit, but you lose Ty Jerome, you add Lonzo Ball, you draft Tyrese Proctor, you add Larry Nance Jr. I like the Cavs next year a ton. I think I'm going to predict them to make it to the NBA Finals. I know they haven't made it to the conference finals with Donovan Mitchell in 3 years. It's just health, man. But I do believe Evan Mobley can turn into like a top 15 player in the league. I know he was in terms of All-NBA, but there were injuries. I think he could be like 100% a top 15 player in the league next year. I am worried a little bit about the Garland start to the year, though, with his injury. For the Clippers, I think they're a little bit high. I'm high on the Clippers, but I think 4 is a little bit too aggressive. So the top 4 teams are all from the Western Conference. This is an old team. You had Chris Paul. You had Brook Lopez, who are both close to 40. You had Bradley Beal, who's like 32. Kawhi's getting up there. Harden's getting up there, who you just gave $40 million a year to. I like them getting John Collins because they needed more front court depth. So Collins, Lopez, and Conan Niederhauser are just bodies out there, which you needed behind Zubats because last year it was like Eubanks and Bamba and just like a rotating carousel, a big man at some point. You have Chris Dunn and Chris Paul, like good point guard depth behind James Harden. You add Bradley Beal for $5.5 million. That is an insane steal. And Derrick Jones Jr. and Nick Batum are some really good, like non-box score guys as well. So I trust Ty Lue as a coach. Health is going to also determine how far they go. It's one of these teams in the West is going to have a disappointing year next year. The Lakers, the Timberwolves, the Clippers, maybe the Rockets or the Nuggets. They have the Rockets at number 3. I also had, I think, the Nuggets at number 2, Rockets at number 3. I might have had actually the Rockets at 4 and the Cavs at 3. So the Rockets add Kevin Durant. You trade away Green and Brooks. You didn't draft anybody this year because you traded for KD. I like them adding Dorian Finney-Smith. Like Clint Capella's a body. Josh Okogie's a body. Reed Shepard should be more productive in year 2. Hopefully Jabari Smith Jr. is more productive in year 4. And Şengün was an all-star. Man, Thompson's going to probably have a career year again next year in year number 3. And Eason is an all-world defender who I wonder what his contract extension will look like. But you had Kevin Durant, right? Like this team was a 2 seed in a loaded West with a young roster and a good coach, but they didn't have the guy you could trust in crunch time. And now you get one of the best guys in NBA history scoring within the 3-point line, within the half court. And this could elevate the Rockets. I'm not going to buy them as like the contender from the West because 1, you have the Thunder, and 2, they don't have somebody like Nikola Jokic. Like KD is going to be 37. We haven't seen KD carry a team to the conference finals since 2019, and that was on a iconic Warriors core. So we'll see what ends up happening going forward. But yeah, KD lost in round 1 in 2022 with the Nets. 2023, he gets traded to Phoenix. They lose in round 2. 2024 lose in round 1, and they didn't make the play-in last year as well. But this is a lot better of a team than what he's had in Phoenix over the last 2 years. So Denver's number 2. I do agree with this one as well. I love what Denver's offseason is. I do think they have the best chance at beating the Thunder next year. And I think they have a really good chance at winning the NBA Finals with the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, with Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., De'Ron Holmes, and Jonas Valanciunas all being additions. I think Brown, Strother, and Watson can take leaps as well. And I think just what Gordon and Murray did for you last year with adding Cam Johnson, who's so smart without the ball in his hands, who's so smart with the ball in his hands, better defender than Michael Porter Jr. This is a big offseason for Denver. And I love what they did being aggressive this offseason because you have, when it's all said and done, a top 10 player in NBA history in Nikola Jokic, or at least a top 10 peak and prime. What we're seeing right now, a 29-point triple-double last year on elite efficiency. This is what they should have done, and I'm glad they did it. And at number 1, to no surprise, you have the OKC Thunder. I don't think anybody can really put anybody else outside the Thunder as the 1 seed. 68 wins, kept everybody on their roster. They're adding Topic and Sorber. I know they traded away Dylan Jones, but they can make a trade if they wanted to. They have a young team, so nobody's going to really regress in a way. Chet Holmgren missed a ton of time. Hartenstein missed time last year going forward. Unless, Denver starts out, 20-2 and they beat OKC, maybe you can kind of swap them in a way. But I think for now, you can predict, Denver to win the finals, and I'm probably going to do that. But I do think OKC has to be number 1 in any type of power ranking going into next year's season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Just Ballin' Podcast. You can let me know what you agree with or disagree with, anything the article said or what I said down below in the YouTube comments. And if you guys are listening on audio on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, really appreciate a rating and review to help the pod grow over there as well. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.